Get ready. It's time. Christina, Catherine, Lisa, Amy, Lauren, and Danny. Welcome to the Cimorelli podcast.
Hey, I'm Christina.
I'm Catherine.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Amy.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Danny.
And we're Cimorelli.
Welcome back to
The Cimorelli podcast.
Oh my gosh! I love the podcast.
This is season 3. Woo!
What?
Yes.
Never thought we'd make it this far.
Yeah, we're doing something special for season 3. I'll tell you in a sec. But if you're new here, Cimorelli podcast is a very entertaining, uplifting podcast full of advice that's changed our lives and personal stories. We get pretty vulnerable and real sometimes pretty goofy and weird. And I don't know where I was going to go with that. I was going to say it was keep it entertaining, but I don't know why I wrote that down. I don't really like that line. So every other episode.
You said that like 8 times in the last episode.
I know, and I hated it every time. Every other episode, right? So 1 is here. Episode 2 will be on Patreon. 3 will be here on YouTube. Episode 4 will be on Patreon. So every other episode is available only on our Patreon, in addition to a bunch of other stuff. So you're going to want to join our Patreon if you want the other half of this season. It's totally worth it. Our Patreon is amazing. So the link is in the description. Definitely join that. And you also get to see the YouTube episodes like this one a week early. So Patreon, you already saw this. YouTube, hello. So season 3, we are basing it on our new book, Believe in You, which is available basically everywhere online. Go get that for sure. It's a book that is about like life advice and personal stories from. It's kind of like our podcast in a book, basically, about all the big topics in life.
I feel like it's like get to know us and grow with us.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yes. So today's episode is based on chapter 1, which is your relationship with you. And Aunt Kath's going to tell us a little bit about chapter 1 in the book before we jump in to all the topics. So you guys know what's going on.
All right, fam. So you may be wondering what your relationship with you is about. It's about your relationship with you.
Love it.
But a little more specifically, in case you're wondering, some of the topics that we cover in the book, these are kind of based, and pretty much everything in the book is based on the questions you guys ask us the most in our DMs, on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. So some of the topics we cover in our first chapter are perfectionism, dealing with stress, how to survive an emotional breakdown, dealing with anxiety, self-care, and how to have a good relationship with yourself.
So for today's episode, we decided we are going to talk about our worst days and how we turn them around. So that's a topic for today. But first, the first thing we do is we take a spicy advice question from Patreon.
Ooh.
Wow, you said it right instead of Q&A.
Oh,
Dang it.
darn
We do a spicy advice Q&A.
It's one question.
It's a Q&A.
All right, today's question comes from our patron, Danny. What's up, Danny? We
Hey.
saw you at our concert the other week.
It's secretly
Hey,
me.
Danny.
Good to see ya.
Guys, it's really just me.
We met her.
Danny. We all make fake Patreon accounts.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so
This is-
her question is kind of like a twofold question. So I was thinking everyone can kind of just... What?
Amy just said something, everyone ignored it.
What did you say?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
She didn't finish
It
it.
wasn't
She just
pertinent,
stopped.
I realized.
Okay. All right. So today's question is kind of a 2-part question. So you can just focus on whatever half because they're kind of different. That speaks to you personally. All right. So she says, how do you stop criticizing yourself and being a constant people pleaser?
Criticizing yourself. I learned a lot about this in my counseling therapy. I don't know what it is, counseling, whatever. This year, I learned a lot about kind of the step-by-step process. The first step is figuring out what you're actually saying to yourself. You might think you know what you're saying to yourself. You probably don't. There's a lot of things you say to yourself you have no idea. I just learned this about myself because once I started looking for the things and listening to myself, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was saying all of that. So I started to learn to look for the things first. That's the first thing. You have to look for them. When you are like aware of them, when you're like, I want to figure out what I'm saying to myself, you will figure it out right away. Don't worry. So figure out what you're saying to yourself. Then you have to question what you said. So you have to say, okay, I'm a bad person. Is this true? Can I know that 100% without a doubt? I am just a 100% bad person. No, you can't. So then you have to question the belief and you have to say why it's not true, right? So you can say, you know what? I had a good intention this morning when I did this thing and I did this thing and I did this thing wrong, but I apologize for it. You give yourself some evidence and then you say, what's the real truth? I have good intentions. I'm a good person and I make mistakes just like every other human. So you kind of replace that original thought, I'm a bad person, which is criticizing yourself, with the truth, which is you're a good person, you have a good heart, you have good intentions, but you mess up just like every other human, but you're doing your best. So that's the process that I do. Anyone else for self-criticism?
I would say, I don't know. I feel like for me with criticism, a lot of it is like staying inside of your head too much. And something that's been helpful for me is to share my like critical thoughts with people that I trust. So if you know someone that's really critical, you probably don't want to share it with them because they probably will just criticize you more.
With me.
Oh,
Well,
yikes.
But I have clear memories of like when I was like 18, I remember telling one of my best friends like, "Oh, I hate my thighs." She's like, "What? Why? You have good thighs." And I was like,
I thought you were going to say something bad.
No, like I was really critical of that aspect of myself. She's like, "I've always thought your legs looked great." And I was like, "What?" And just thinking like my friend sees me this way. Like obviously you want to get to a place where you can just have your own affirmation, but I feel like
It's helpful.
it's helpful sometimes
It's
to have
really
like
helpful.
friends or like, "Oh my gosh, I said this thing. I feel so dumb. Do you think that person thought I was an idiot?" And then your friend's like, "No, they probably didn't." Like just saying it to someone, getting it outside of the craziness of our brains and bringing it out into the light, it just takes a lot of the weight out of it.
But make sure the person, you're right, make sure it's a supportive person. Because there's
Yeah.
plenty of friends who would be like, yeah, you could lose 10, 20 pounds. That
Oh
would
my
not be helpful.
gosh.
You
Not
know?
at
Or
all.
if they're like, yeah, you do. I mean, okay, you want them to tell you the truth in a kind way, right?
Yeah, okay,
Like maybe
and
they're
that's
like,
another-
hey, it did sound a little crazy, but I don't think you're crazy. I think just the way it came across. Like maybe they say it in a nice way. Someone who
Yeah.
can be honest, but in a nice way. Do not tell it to someone who is rude. If you have
Yeah.
a rude friend, do not tell them.
And also too, it's a good idea to look at your friends and kind of see like how do they view the world and themselves, because I've talked about this before, but I had like when I was younger, I was kind of in a group of friends where they were so critical of each other and like themselves, and it got me into this mindset of like constantly criticizing myself because that was the environment that I was in. So you might want to, if you have a lot of friends that are constantly like that, you might want to try to find like better friends that are more gentle, loving. It's not necessarily easy because I feel like most women are very hard on themselves, but definitely. Why are you guys looking at
Staring at
No,
me.
because
Okay.
you're telling this thing and Amy's sitting here like this. She looks like she's panicking.
She
What am
probably
I
is.
not?
Okay, then why don't we go to people pleasing? What tips do you have for
I
that?
feel like we all have so much to say.
Literally, all of us have a problem
Yeah,
with this.
I realized when I got in a relationship that it was really triggered because before that I was like, I'm not a people pleaser, and
Me
people ask me
too.
to go places, and I'm like, no, I don't want to go. Like I would be very protective of my own wants and needs, and then you can't know how you're going to be in a situation before you're in it. So I just didn't see this coming, but I started feeling it not only with my boyfriend but like everyone in my life. Like people would ask me to go somewhere, or even like one time I found out you guys went to Sonic and I didn't go, and I was like, oh no, I was probably supposed to be there. I probably should have been there. They're probably mad that I didn't go. And I was like, who am I now? I don't know. But what helped me was, first of all, becoming aware of that. Like, oh, this isn't healthy behavior and I'm doing this a lot. And then hearing my thoughts, as Christina said, like becoming aware and hearing them throughout the day and realizing how out of control it was getting with like every single thing I did. I was thinking of like a million people, like, how will they see this? Will they be okay with it? Will it hurt them? Will it hurt this person? And then last, not even saying, will it hurt me? And I have my calendar. I think I've said this before. I have like a slot at the top where I write a quote for each month. So the last like 5 months, it's been like, what do you want to do? Or like, be honest, or just say what you're thinking. Like, refocusing on myself, not in a selfish way, but like in my life, I need to get things done that I need to get done. And I need to take care of myself first. And apparently a lot of people don't care if I'm not at Sonic with them. So I don't need to be freaking out about dumb things like that. So just putting some kind of reminder or something in your life to refocus back to yourself. Like, okay, it's good to consider what other people think, but first, what do I think? And then I can balance people off of that. Because if you have nothing to bounce off of, you're only living on other people's opinions. And that's when you spiral.
quickly.
Oh yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was gonna go.
Okay, I'll just say it. Something that helps me, like, definitely agree with what Lisa's saying. It's like, yeah, you have to think about what do I want? What do I want to do? But in the moment of saying it, you get scared because you're like, oh, what if they're sad? What if they're mad? And I had to realize, like, people are not all just these wimps that can't handle anything. Like,
Yes.
like they can handle being canceled on. They can handle hearing something that maybe they didn't want to hear, and they can handle being sad, and they can handle being mad, and also I can handle someone being mad at me because I can communicate and talk through it. Like realizing that people are capable of handling disappointment, and if I disappoint someone, their life is not going to end.
Oh, that's good.
That's really good.
And I will add a quick tip. I agree with both of them. I will add a quick tip is that it helps to have someone else to like help you with it. So if you have like a friend or like a partner or something who like you share your life with, it really helps to be like, oh my gosh, I'm really scared to say this to this person, or I'm really scared to put myself first in the situation, or I'm really scared of hurting this person. Because if you have someone who can say, hey, just do it anyway, or like, hey, here's what you should say instead. Like, it's really, really helpful to not do this alone. Like, to just like freak out in your own mind. Like, it's like Catherine was saying about the criticism. Like, it's always good to just have someone to like say your fears out loud to and have them be like, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
Especially
and
if you can't do it for
asking
yourself.
for help also
Yeah.
on like how to word things too. Like
for sure.
you don't have to figure it all out yourself.
Yeah.
Any other tips?
Yeah.
Before we move on?
Yeah, my thing was I think I people pleased a lot, like Lauren was saying, because I thought people were wimps, no offense. Like, I thought that it was my responsibility. Like, somewhere, unbeknownst to me, I signed up to be God and make sure everyone was great
Wow.
all the time
Oh my
and
gosh.
everything was in my control. And then I realized that I'm not God. What a shocking observation. And I had to realize people need to be in, like, they need to be able to handle themselves, and they will be good. Like, handling pain is one of the most important things of life, and who am I to rob them of that? Who am I to pretend that I could take that away from them? And why would I want to? Like, I can do my best for me, and that will be enough. And also, this thing that Christina told me was like, if I'm doing your stuff over there, no one's doing my stuff. So I'm just waving around in the wind like a dandelion. That's not right. Like, you have to sign up to be yourself and know where you are and what your place is, and that other people will be okay, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I got a quick one. I definitely dealt with people pleasing, still deal with it every single day. I feel like one thing that's a warning sign that you know you're not really in the right place is if you're operating from a place of guilt.
Yes.
So if you feel like, oh, I don't
And
really want to
fear.
do this. I'm so tired tonight. This person wants to hang out, but I really wish I could just lay in my bed and chill because I had a really long day. But they don't have anyone else. I'm the only person that they can talk to or whatever. Like, yeah, sometimes you do got to be there for your friend if it's like they're really going through a hard time. But if you're doing that to yourself constantly, I did that to myself. I still do this to myself a lot. You're going to run yourself into the ground, and then you can't be there for anyone if you're constantly showing up for people. So I realized I have this. My therapist helped me identify this, and I realized I have this really whiny voice in my head. I think of it as an old lady. Like, she's like, I literally have a picture where she's this blonde lady. She's really tall, and she's very like pushy and manipulative and guilt tripping, and she tries to force me to do things. It's this part of myself that's very guilt focused, like, well, you know, I know you're really busy this week, but you need to do this thing and see this person because if you don't, you're not being a good friend and they're gonna think you're bad. Like, just kind of, she's trying to force me into stuff that is not healthy. I had to force myself to think of another person in my mind. I know it might sound really kooky to some of these people listening. This is just how I conceptualize my thoughts. There's another lady in my head. Sounds really weird.
A lot of
But
ladies.
she's a nice mom and she's caring and she's nurturing. Honestly, it's me the way that I am with children. Like, that's how I think of it. And I think of another part of myself as a small child. And I'm like, okay, if the nice lady was doing my schedule, how would she do it? Would she be like, you really need to go to a little girl? No. She would say, I'm sorry, but this girl is not available. because she's tired and she needs to take some time to herself. And so I have to like consciously check in and be like, am I operating from the guilt pushy lady, or am I operating from the nice caring lady who is so considerate with other people but not her well the other lady is so considerate to other people but not herself. So
Yeah.
I had to that viewing it through that lens has helped me so much.
So make up a lady or two.
Yes.
Or
Also,
a man, if that helps.
last thing is like it gets easier. It gets so much
Yeah.
easier the more
Yeah.
you practice it. It's not going to feel the same like stress and guilt forever. The more
Yes.
that you do it and you put your boundaries in place, the easier it's going to get and the better you're going to feel.
Yeah, I had a hard time with a lot. Well, I always have a lot of guilt in me all the time because I'm taking on responsibility for things that are not my responsibility. And I think with the guilt, I have to ask myself, like, do I feel guilty because I'm doing something wrong? Sometimes that's what guilt is. You're doing something wrong. Or do I feel guilty because I think I'm in charge of this person's feelings that I'm not in charge of? So, I mean, like, I'll feel guilty sometimes, like, I'm not going to hang out with my brothers. And I'm like, I really could hang out with them. I'm feeling guilty because I have this value that I want to be close to them and I'm not meeting that right now. So the guilt makes sense. Other times, it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, I can't tell them I'm tired because then they won't be entertained by me. Like, that doesn't make sense, you know? So you got to figure out, is this guilt, like, real? Like, are you actually doing something wrong or are you not doing anything wrong? That helped me a lot work through if my values aren't lining up or if it's really, I just think I'm in charge of making sure everyone's entertained all the time, you know? So that was our spicy advice Q&A.
Good.
And we're gonna
like a Q&A.
we're gonna move on
like
to
a
the
panel.
topic of conversation,
Sorry.
which is opening up about some of our worst days and
I was trying to math that I just got worse days.
and how we turn them around. And we want to say really quick, so you don't think that this is actually it's not the worst like traumatic events. We're not going to sit on here and say the most traumatic things that have
Worst
ever
days
happened
of
to
our
us.
lives.
That would be really triggering, first of all, and second of all, that's not what we're going to say. So just know that this is not the literal worst times of our lives.
These
It's not
are
the worst
like,
thing we've been through.
Oh, I'm having a bad day. It's the worst of your normal
Of your
bad
bad
day.
day.
Normal
Yeah.
things.
Not like, oh, someone got in a car crash, I spent the night in the hospital, whatever.
Yeah.
Not those.
yeah,
not
we
that.
didn't talk about that stuff. So just know that when we go into this. So we're going to
You're like,
start.
wow, they have an easy life.
Yeah. I just want you to know that, guys. Okay? So Lisa, you want to start us off?
Ooh, sure. This is actually a few weeks ago. I had a bit of a mental spiral. And, I've been feeling kind of off throughout the month. I mean, really like September and October. I was just kind of, didn't know where I was. And I got out of church, and usually I feel better when I get out of church. And I'm like, but I still couldn't shake this bleh feeling. So sometimes, like when I was younger, I would kind of just go home and lay in my bed or something, just be like, and just like sleep it off, which doesn't really help. It just kind of pushes it away for a while. So I was like, you know what? I can't go home right now. Like I don't feel good and I don't want to just go home and distract myself. So I went on a drive and I was like, why? I just started asking myself questions. I went on this long, beautiful country drive. I'm saying how I deal with it, right? Too. I'm not just okay. I'm just
Yeah.
getting this-
The people want to know
getting
what
it in
to do
order.
on their
All
bad
right.
days.
So because I was feeling down, I went on a drive, beautiful country drive, and I started asking myself questions. The sun's going down. I'm like, what am I feeling? Like, I'm feeling unimportant. I'm feeling, okay, kind of sad. I start putting words out there and see which ones like ring a bell. It's like all these little bells and certain rings ring really loud. It's like, oh, it's that one,
Yeah.
And I was like, unimportant. Ooh, invisible. Abandoned.
You're like
okay.
grocery shopping
Yes,
for emotions.
yes, because I'm like, which one is it? And then I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling like a theme. I started to find a theme, and then I tried to like put on songs that would connect with that emotion, but I couldn't really find any. So I just thought to myself the whole way, just like thought my way through it, and I realized it was something more from like my childhood, and I found the bell. It was like ring, 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 ring.
Oh my gosh.
So then I started like really crying, and I was driving. It's not the best thing. I think Amy has a crusade against that.
I do.
But I got home safely. I was just like, "Ah!" crying really hard. And I cried it out. And then I felt so much better. I was like, all right, now I'm going to go home. I'm going to make this amazing salad in my fridge. For some reason, this strawberry chicken salad sounded like ice cream. I was like, I can't wait. I made
a great
myself my
salad.
salad. I got a little Halloween candy and I put on my Halloween movie because it was the Halloween season at the time. And I had a nice little night to myself. And just the moment of the time of like preparation and processing and expressing into the comfort was so good. It was like a release and then a relax. So that was like a horrible day into like a pretty good night.
Love that.
Anyone
Love
else?
that.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Okay, this was like recent. So we were doing a bunch of stuff, really busy, preparing for our tour, had a bunch of projects coming up. And the day before this, I'd worked like 15 hours straight, which I don't usually do that, but there was just like a lot going on. And so this day, it was kind of like everything was just catching up to me, and I couldn't really like catch a break because I had so much to do. So I was just kind of trying to just like push through the day, like doing all these things the best that I could. But I was really, really anxious all day. And I was realizing that I was just feeling like, nothing I do is good enough. Everything that I was doing, I was like seeing how I could have done it better and like, I'm not good enough. And just kind of like that whole thing was just like swirling in my mind all day. And I had plans to go to the movies that night, but then I was like, I really can't do that. So when I was done working for the day, I could have worked a lot longer because I technically did have stuff to do, but I was like, I can't do that today. Like, I literally did 15 hours yesterday, so I'm not going to do that again today because it's just not healthy. And so I put on Gregorian chant in the car as I drove home. If you don't know what that is, it's like, I don't actually know how to describe it.
It's like a bunch of like men, and a lot of times I feel like they're like
Or
monks
women.
or something.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
think it's
listened to the
usually
woman
men.
one.
Well,
It's a very old type of music.
yeah, I think traditional Gregorian chant is men because it's written in a lower like register. But
Yeah, but
women
what
can
does it
sing
sound
too.
like?
It's just like really, really old school Catholic hymns that are in like Latin usually.
And it's like a
like-
cappella. And it's like usually,
It's so pretty.
in Latin. And so I don't really know what they're saying, but it just like, it's something about God.
just
I know
sounds
that. So I just feel like, I don't know why, like Gregorian chant always puts me at peace. So I'm
Me
driving.
too.
And I'm like, okay, God is here and he exists. Because, sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, not the eye of the storm, the opposite of that, then you kind of forget about God and you're like, anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. I have to figure everything out myself. But putting that on and driving home, I was like, okay, it's okay. Like, I have God. Like, he's taking care of me. I can deal with this. So I canceled my plans for the night. I was like, I'm sorry, which my people-pleasing self can have a problem with that because I felt guilty, but I was like, whatever, like, I have to do this. So cancel my plans, listen to my chant. I just, like, went to bed. Well, I didn't actually go to bed, but I just went and laid in my bed because I was really tired. And I kind of did what, who was saying it? You were saying at the beginning of this episode about the criticism thing of, like, going through and, like, okay, like, am I really not good enough? Is everything I did not good enough? And I was like, okay, actually, I did a good job at all these things. Yes, technically, I could have done better, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good. And it kind of just, like, untangled all of the knots in my mind, I guess, of the not feeling good enough, and just laid in my bed and then watched some wholesome television, went to bed early, and I turned it around.
That's nice.
So basically, you
Good for
checked
you.
yourself before you wrecked yourself.
Yes. Well, no, I kind of wrecked myself and then checked
you
myself.
wrecked yourself,
Yeah.
and then you checked yourself. Like, you know what? I'm not wrecked.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Oh,
nice.
I'm next. Cool. Hi.
This is so fun.
My description is really funny. So basically, this day was June 16th.
Well, listen, the way that
But-
Amy described her day to jog her memory was hair was dark and Lauren's ear was swollen.
So I'm having a very stressful weekend. I don't remember why. I probably just played too much, didn't listen to myself, ignored every emotion as per usual. I attempted to dye my hair red, which should tell you a lot. What happened was not good. My roots got really red and the rest of my hair was black, and I felt like a colossal failure of a human being.
Oh, no.
And then I started to get really stressed. The next day, it was Father's Day, and I had to go to my sister's house early, make our present, because we're really, really not
On
last
time.
minute. And then I did that, and then I was feeling so stressed, and then I like scrubbed my hair so many times, and then I re-dyed my hair. So I was like, great, all my hair is gonna fall out. I'm gonna be bald brat. No, I'm kidding. Not married anyway.
Okay.
That's a
then-
quote from the movie Bride Wars.
Yes.
Just so
And
you
I
know.
was having a very and then I just started descending deeper into madness, and I was watching this show. And it was just like not a light, wholesome show. It's not as bad. It was just kind of dark,
Just
you know.
drama.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not wholesome television.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was inappropriate. It was just like
It was just
intense,
dark.
dark and
Okay.
death.
Wasn't
you know?
uplifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was in church, and I was like, this day sucks. So then I went to my good friend God at adoration after church. There's this little adoration chapel, and I went and I just started journaling and journaling and journaling, and I still didn't feel super great. So I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? What do I want to do? So then I left the church, and I went to the grocery store, and I bought some window markers, or no, dry erase board markers, because I had a plan. I was like, I'm going to write some nice things on my mirror so I can be nice to myself for once. I bought
Mira,
some
wait, Mira is a
popcorn.
mirror.
Yes. I bought some popcorn chicken. I bought some pens.
Mm.
And I hit the road.
Sounds like a good
driving.
night.
It actually,
The road.
that's what I'm saying. It turned out to be really well. Really good. So I did this random route that I never do. And I randomly was driving by my friend's house. And I was like, oh, I want to see if she's home. Was not home. But then I caught up with my mother, who was going through an ice cream drive-through. So I park my car, get out of my car, run to my mom's car, knock on her window while she stopped in the drive-through.
Sounds dangerous.
And then,
It
no,
does
it was a
sound
really
dangerous.
chill place. It was not dangerous. Trust me, I'm not dangerous. So then, and then my mom and I had a really good, deep conversation, and she bought me ice cream, and
that.
it was really nice. And then I called Christina because I was proud of myself for coping well.
Oh, I don't
And
remember.
then I came home.
Oh, this is a while ago.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
a
I was
long
trying to
time
think
ago.
recently. I was like, what?
My hair was acceptable again because I had re-dyed it dark. I came home. I wrote on my mirror. I did some more journaling, and I felt so much better
Mm.
because my first instinct in those feelings is to go home and watch even more television.
Mm.
But I was like, can't do that. I got to get to the bottom of this. And so I took some time for me, and that's what I needed to do to feel better. So I checked myself as I was wrecking myself.
I have a question.
Oh no.
How
I'm scared.
does Lauren's ear play into this story?
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. I don't know, just kind of stressful. I like took her to urgent care to get her ear checked out.
Oh.
I was like being her mother for a sec.
Oh
you know?
yeah, I turned into a baby.
I was
on
like,
that
my
day.
child needs to have her ear checked right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you didn't mention that. Okay.
I
so
forgot about
funny.
that. That's one of the reasons why the
got
day
it.
was stressful. Then I had to dye my hair and wash it with Dawn, and it was just a
Oh
lot.
my gosh.
Look, when you have bright red roots with black hair,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you wash it
frightening.
with Dawn. I've done
That
that
ain't good.
when I
it's
dyed my hair too dark.
frightening.
All right. Well, mine is a quick one, and I will say that it's more of a less of an emotional bad day, more of a physical bad day that I had. So it was more a couple days too. So last week actually, I'm still like a little stuffy. If you can hear in my voice, it's very nasal. Because I was sick last week, and I was very sick, and I had like a pretty bad cold, and I was like, I was dying. And so I was sick, and we were about to leave for like a little part of our tour. I don't want to say tour because that sounds like a really long time. It was like a weekend, but still, it was like tour. And we were doing all these practices. What else were we doing? There was something else we were doing.
Book
We were doing something for our book. Oh, our book just came out. I don't remember.
launched.
Our book launch. We were doing a lot of stuff, okay? And it was very busy the few days that I also was sick. So I was not physically prepared for that. And it was terrible. So all day I felt like I was dying, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I decided to put me first. This is what everyone's saying in their stories, but whatever. So I decided, someone else said, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Lauren. I canceled all my plans. And and this was like the day before that we left. The day before we left, I canceled my plans. I was like, okay, after I'm done with tour practice, I'm going to go home. And I went home and I cleaned my room and my bathroom because you can't be sick and sad in a dirty room. Even though I was sick and dying, I just found the strength to clean, okay? It wasn't like a deep clean. It was just like a clean enough.
I've done that many times too.
Yeah, it's like clean
You
enough
just find
to
the
like
strength to
to
clean.
like look good,
Yeah.
you know, and feel good. Not Mr. Clean, okay? And then
Suddenly Danny's the bald man on the magic erasers.
yes. Yes. And then I took a really long shower. I think I like re-dyed my hair or something. I feel like every time I'm having a stressful thing, I always go to physical self-care because it's like my favorite thing in the whole world. And just like taking a break and laying down is so fun. So I did that and I put my physical needs first. And I cleaned and I canceled my plans and I decided I was gonna pack early instead of doing it like the hour before, which is what I usually do. So because that's always a little stressful. So I was trying to eliminate stress and mess. And I did that.
Great job.
And I made my environment better so that I could experience the sickness and the stressness in a better place.
I think that goes also for not being sick, just being kind of
Yeah.
sad too. Like
Yeah.
cleaning up and like taking care of stuff always makes
Yeah.
you feel better.
Always helps
Me
me
too.
in general.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll do mine now. Okay, this is weird because this is actually like 2 years ago, but for some reason this really sticks out in my memory, and it took me a while to remember what actually happened, and it all came back together right as I'm about to tell you. So this was January 2017, and Max and I had been dating for 3 months, and I'll be honest and tell you guys, the first few months of dating Max was very strange for me because it was my first really serious
Like
type
he
of
would like hang
relationship.
upside down, pop out of my pillow. So many weird things.
For me. And a lot of like dark feelings were coming up for me of like feeling unworthy of love and feeling like I'm not good enough for a relationship. And I feel like I never knew that I felt that way until I was actually in the situation. And Max had been gone for 3 weeks. He went back to New York to visit his family, and I really missed him. But as he was like about to come back, I was getting really nervous because I hadn't seen him in 3 weeks, which was the longest I'd gone without seeing him since we started dating. And I was like, what if he doesn't like me anymore? You know, it's just like this feeling of feeling unworthy. And I felt like, I remember just feeling very ugly and very like not.
Catherine, can I say something real quick? Lauren and I always make jokes during this podcast. I was about to lean over right as she said that and say, ugly. I was about to say that. And as I was about to say it, she said, I was feeling very ugly. So I read your mind.
Well, you read my mind. So anyway, I was feeling like that, and it was weird because then a huge snowstorm came in. So there was like 3 days where I couldn't leave the house, and I think that kind of compounded everything. And so I just started to feel this mounting feeling of anxiety and this mounting feeling of ugliness and unworthiness like coming over me. And I think deep down, it wasn't just about how I looked. I feel like it was just, I think Lisa explained this in her Things We Don't Talk About episode. I felt it in my body, like, oh, my body's not good enough. But it was really, I felt like I wasn't good enough. So that was more of the surface, like,
You
thing.
take it out on your body, but it's just an internal feeling.
Yes. And I would like to say that I think that this is one of the most important things when you're having a really bad day is trying to identify what you're feeling and why. And I think I realized this after the fact, but I don't think I realized how much pressure I was putting on myself because I was starting to care about him so much. And it was like, oh, this is so scary.
Can't let him know you
What
care.
if I care so much? Because that was actually a month before he told me he loved me for the first time. And I was just starting to feel it too. So it's just like all this stuff. But I remember that it wasn't like I did this magical thing to fix it or anything. I remember I was in my room and I was wearing my super dorky PJs. I feel like I have such dorky PJs. I've been wearing them since I was like a teen, like not the same ones, but I've always been wearing like a big t-shirt and pajama pants since I was like a teenager. And so I looked, very dorky, but I wasn't like, oh, I look dorky. I was just like, oh, that's what I wear, whatever. And I remember like I was in my room looking out at the snow and I just sat down. I was like, oh, I got to do my God time. So I sat on the floor in my room and I remember, so cheesy, guys. Sappy thoughts with Kath. I looked in the mirror at myself in my dorky pajamas. My face had a breakout, of course, making me feel so beautiful. And I just looked at myself and I was like, ah! And I just started crying. And I was like, wow, you're such a cute person, Kath.
I did not expect that.
I know, I did. And I don't think it was me. I think it was God. I really do. I think the Holy Spirit was there. And I feel like God was showing me myself as I was. And he was saying, like, you're great. Like, stop being so hard on yourself. You're just this nice girl. You're trying. You're not perfect, but you don't have to be perfect. And I remember just sitting there and like weeping and feeling like God was there. And I feel like to sum up the feeling, it was just the feeling of mercy. And I feel like I was seeing myself with merciful eyes. And I feel like that's how God sees us. So I know for me, I mean, I've done a lot of self-care things and they definitely help. But sometimes when you're in such a state where things just feel so bad, you don't feel like you have the strength to do anything. And sometimes you'll just kind of surrender to the moment. And when you can do that sometimes, then God will come in there and show you who you really are. And that's really powerful. So that moment always sticks out to me, even though it was like 2 years ago. And I don't know, really beautiful moment for me.
Love it.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Mine was really recent. I think it was like last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't really know. Can't think that far back. So basically, I think there's different kind of hard times. There's hard times where you brought them upon yourself and you can kind of undo them. And you go, oh, I just need to do this thing. And there's other kind of hard times I'm going to talk about where you didn't bring it on yourself. Someone else or something else brought it on you, like life brought it on you. And you have no control over it. You can't really do anything to fix situation. There's no fixing. What there is like grieving, moving through, healing from, feeling. You just have to go through it and there's nothing you can do about it. So those are the hardest for me because when there's something that I can do, I'm like, oh, all I have to do is this, and this. Got it. But if I didn't bring it upon myself, it's like, oh, dang it. I have no control. Like Amy's saying about not being God.
Yeah.
You don't have control and you're like, dang it. I just gotta ride the waves. I was gonna say ride the waves I can't control. It's a Kenny Chesney song, Build a Better Boat. So you just have to ride the waves you can't control. So basically, I was recovering from some health things that you guys will know about soon enough. I don't know when the video goes out. And I was just feeling there's a lot of things going on in my life at once. And I was feeling really depressed and down and just like so many feelings. There was just a lot to go through. And I was like, how do I go through this? What am I supposed to do? I can't even like fix the situation. What do I do? And what I realized was that I needed a combo of basically at home self-care, emotional connection with myself and friends and people, loved ones. And I needed to get out of the house also. Those are the 3 things that really helped me. So basically, I canceled all the work things that I could cancel, which is not very many. If I cancel something for work, you know it's a real problem. I do not cancel work things ever. So I canceled some work things that I could cancel. And then I journaled and got all my feelings out, try to make sense of things. I prayed so much, just like praying, trying to wrap my head around things. It's like, okay, I can't change the situation. Let me try to wrap my head around it. Let me pray and let me just journal out. And then I needed to reach out to a ton of people. What made me feel so much better was talking to so many people about what was going on in my life. And once again, the right people. You got to talk to the right people. If you talk to the wrong people, that's not going to help. That's going to make it worse. So I've talked to like 15 to 20 people probably.
Whoa.
I just reached out to my friends and family and I told like everyone I could, everything that I could. And that was so helpful. It felt so healing. The more I would talk about everything, it just felt so much better. And I had to get out of my house. I don't know. I kept being like, I don't want to leave my house. But then I had to leave it for something. I felt so much better when I left my house. It was like you isolate yourself, but then when you get up, get dressed, and go out into the real
that
world.
There's like life out there.
Yeah,
You're like, oh my gosh, it's not all this dark hole in my living
It really
room.
like changed it. I don't know how. Normally I would have gone on a walk. I wasn't able to go on a walk in this situation because of the health stuff that was going on. I wasn't able to go on a walk, but I would have normally gone on a walk in the situation. I would have said 100% go on a walk, but I couldn't do that. So I just want to put that out there. Walks are like one of the best things. So that's what I did. To summarize, it was I had to break it down for myself and I had to journal it out. I had to pray a lot, constantly pray about it. And I had to reach out to a lot of people. And then I had to get out of the house. And those things, I really felt better. I felt so much peace. I felt so much better. And I just felt like this is doable. I can handle this. I can do this. I'm just going to move through it. And that was how I turned around that bad time. So now Lauren is going to read a little bit from our book. It's 1 page. And we don't have the hard copy today, but in future episodes from 3 on, we will have it. And we'll get to show it to you guys. It's so awesome. But right now we have the digital copy. So Lauren is going to read. We also have the audiobook, which some people have said they absolutely love, the ones who have messaged me. I love the audiobook because it's like you're getting a pep talk from us. Seriously, it's amazing. I also love the physical book because then you can like reference things. I think they're both needed, honestly. So Laura's going to read a little section from chapter 1, your relationship with you.
Yes, and the subcategory of this chapter is dealing with the negative.
Let's hear it, Laura.
All right. This is Lauren wrote this, me.
Gotcha.
It's really easy to put these impossible standards on yourself. For instance, my makeup has to be perfect. My outfits have to be perfect. My hair has to be perfect. I have to be perfectly in shape. I need to get perfect grades, make fun and cool friends, and have perfect, fun, exciting conversations with them all the time. I need to get a perfect boy who thinks that I am perfect. The list goes on. But when it comes down to it, the only person who can choose your standards is you. So give yourself a break. The truth is, if you try to measure yourself against the world's standards, you'll never measure up because they're not humanly attainable. You'll spend your whole life never feeling good enough. You don't have to choose that for yourself. You can allow yourself to make mistakes. Stop judging yourself all the time and start being compassionate with yourself. Treat yourself the way you would treat a friend. I have always naturally been a perfectionist, and I've always had extremely high standards for myself. I want to do my very best in every situation, and I want people to accept me and receive me well 100% of the time. But I've learned that sometimes that's just not going to happen.
That was like a live
Felt like a
audio
cliffhanger
book.
almost.
Love that.
Even though it ended.
Yeah.
Want to know what's next?
Read the rest.
Want to know what's next? Thank you, Lauren. We're going to do a little section every single episode. So you're going to hear little snippets from the book, okay? Pretty exciting. Now we're going to do the last thing we do, which is Sister Spotlight, where we have Lauren's take, Get Real with Christina, Sappy Thoughts with Kath, Amy's Current Crisis, Exposing Lisa's Past, and Danny's Love-Hate List. And this week's Sister Spotlight is... Ding! Exposing Lisa's Past!
Love it.
Let me just say, this is my favorite segment.
Oh my god.
It's my favorite
Okay.
segment.
Oh
It is
my
everyone's.
gosh.
All right. Let's
Yeah,
see.
I
Which one
cried
do
at
we
like the
start
last one she did of laughter.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh, yes.
I was crying. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was too much.
with? Okay.
Too much.
So I brought in 3. I think these are songs. Some of them, one of them might be a poem. I believe they all had melodies at one point, but
Oh no.
this is just like,
Oh no.
you know, people are like a lot of people don't. I hate to bring up the Enneagram just because it feels cliche, but a lot of people don't believe me when I say that I'm a 4. They're like, you're like a 7, blah, blah. But this might, yes. A lot of people say that to me. They don't believe it because they think,
They
oh, a
don't know
4
you.
would live in a log cabin and only cry all day. They don't know the Enneagram clearly. But
Stereotype.
when you read this, you may change your mind.
Oh.
This is me as a child in my true state.
Oh
So
my.
How
here's
old
some
are
of
you?
my poetry. I believe this is between the ages like 12 and 14, about. Yeah, maybe
Whoa.
11. All right.
Okay.
Let's see what to start with. Okay. Here's one. They don't have titles. It's just, it's just an emotional dump. It happens in the moment, so I'm not trying to make anything for anyone. I hate when you put me out to the point where I'm fighting back my tears. Everyone's oblivious to the battle going on inside my head. And then it just goes to she. She's walking down an empty lane, leaving a trail of tears behind to follow to her hiding place.
Oh my
But
god.
no one cares at all.
Oh
The back seat is overtaken by silence. Not coincidental. Disguised by stress is an emptiness hanging over her head. Whoa. Deep. I wish it would rain. Please put out the fire burning me to the ground.
Whoa.
It's getting harder to fake a smile when I still have not been found on the island of lost toys
yes.
and dreams from long ago. Still chained to your heart, running in circles, 'cause she won't go away. Who is she? I don't know. I won't say it, but I still want to. Does it show?
What?
That was
Oh my god.
Okay,
Okay. I'm laughing.
Crying
I'd like to
underwater?
say I'm not laughing at her pain because that is very sad you felt like that.
That's a lot.
But the way
Sad.
that you're reading it is so dramatic that it's freaking
Because
hilarious.
I look back and I'm like, what in the world was I talking about? I'm chained to your heart. She won't go away. Like, whose heart? I don't know. Like, honestly, guys, that was probably about my 14-year-old crush from our youth group, starts with an E,
Oh.
who was like dating another girl and we never spoke. So I'm like,
Chained
she
to
won't
your
go away.
heart.
Your girlfriend that you talk to. Meanwhile, I'm a girl that you don't even know. Like that poem, yeah.
Teenage
goes
hormones
deep.
are wild.
They're a lot.
This is like preteen.
You said 12
all
to
right.
14.
Yeah, but I count that as all right.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's
the
the
second
beginning
one.
of the
Let's
hormones.
see. Oh wait, no, maybe I'll do this one last. Oh jeez.
Wow.
All right. Here's another one. This one's really sad, but I'm gonna skip the middle line because it's a little too personal. Does her tear-stained face tell you a thing? Emotionally drained? This song makes no sense to sing. Skip. She thought it was over and finally gone. Maybe, just maybe, she'd finally won. The good comes and goes, but the bad stays long. I don't even know why I'm writing this song. Nobody knows what's happening to me. Everyone's looking, but no one can see.
Oh.
You were wrong when you said the end will make things clear. She's surrounded by pain, sadness, and fear. Just leave. Go ahead and disappear. The devil whispered in your ear and made you do the things you've done. Well, now that she's broken, you finally won. But don't let me tempt your heart, in quotes, to cry, because that would ruin your makeup. Goodbye.
What?
Oh my
What does the devil have to do with anything?
Well,
Who
if
is
you
this
read the middle
woman?
line, you would know. Okay.
Oh
Alright.
my gosh.
That one is deep and very personal, but I
Also,
just want to give you guys a glimpse of the drama because everyone's like, "Oh, Lisa's a Martian," but sometimes Martians have feelings.
Oh.
Okay, this is the
Okay.
last one. I saved this one because I just really like the opening line. I feel like it's a little quirky, but it's obviously still horrifyingly sad. Okay, I got a crooked spine, but a straight soul. I'm looking for love, not a place to hold. Don't want a business card, just want some of your time. I needed words to sing with these chords, and you filled them in, you double-edged sword. What? I got a new song, but a broken heart this time. So what if you take my breath away? I need a pure soul, not some lame cliche. I need full of God, not filled with lies.
Oh my
And
god.
I don't care what color your eyes are if you don't care what's on my mind. I don't care just how beautiful you are. If you don't love, no, you don't love me, ... You can sing me to sleep for the rest of your life, but I won't dream of you. No one, not one more time. You can't help how you feel, but I can help how I spend my time. Don't need a hand to hold if it's not strong. How can I write a hit if I don't go wrong? For now, I just need to be alone. You can take the trampled necklace off of the floor. Don't want you to bring me down anymore. And then chorus, and then there's two more lines. Can't say I'm really over it,
That's all the verse.
but I don't want to be stuck here. Don't need a boyfriend. Now let me make it clear. Chorus. I don't know what the chorus was. Wait, what? I need to read that end again.
chorus
Can't
is
say I'm really. Oh, maybe.
And I don't care.
Can't say I'm really over it, but I don't want to be stuck here. Don't need a boyfriend. Now let me make it clear.
What?
No
Who are you
one
talking
asked to be my boyfriend until the boyfriend that I have right now, and I'm 26. I don't know what I was talking about, guys. This rings no bells. Like, and that is why it's obvious to me that this was all a fantasy. Like, this is not someone that I even talked to.
At least it sounds like you were fantasizing about having a celebrity boy like you.
Maybe.
Because you're like, I don't need a business card and you can sing me to sleep, but I don't care.
Wait,
Who
a
sing
business?
Yeah, like when
card?
she said business card, it reminded me of like a music industry
Maybe,
thing.
yeah, just very weird. So I'll be bringing in more samples throughout the season, but you know, I have
can't
so
wait.
much drama from my childhood.
Oh my
I'm gonna get a
gosh.
tattoo that says, I got a crooked spine, but a
straight
straight soul.
What?
Across my forehead.
Weird.
My favorite line I think was I need full of God, not filled with lies. Like who is filled with lies? I was
really
such a
enjoyed that.
rigid child, actually. Like people don't see that.
Well, I
So-
mean, you do want full of God and not full of lies, right?
I know, but
You do
what
still want
12-year-old is like, I want full of God, not filled with lies. Like,
I would say the other song when you said Satan spoke to you or whatever.
yeah,
that
the devil whispered in your
devil-
ear.
That was
Guys, my moral compass was like off the Richter scale. Just like,
no.
you dropped a pencil, you will pay. Like, oh my gosh.
I don't know if that's
So,
a moral compass.
I hope you guys have gotten to know me a little bit more, and thank you for listening
It's
to
too
my
much.
weird past.
That was a lot.
Too much.
Wow. Love it.
I can't even handle that. Okay. Okay. Anyway.
New Instagram bio, full of God, not filled with lies.
So weird.
Crooked spine, straight soul.
Okay.
Anyone swiping through Bumble, you can be like, I'm looking for full of God, not,
Not
filled
filled
with
with
lies.
I think that's a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Our next episode is available only on Patreon. And if you join, you get our last season. We had half of that full season is on Patreon. So you can see all of that plus all the other stuff on Patreon. Link is in the description. And we'll see you guys for episode 3 on YouTube, or we'll see you episode 2 on Patreon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
You've been listening to the Cimorelli podcast. Follow Cimorelli on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube. You can also find Cimorelli on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat.